Hi Falcons, welcome back to our next section on Chapter 1. And again, I've got the camera focused on the textbook to remind you to follow along and take notes as we go along. I apologize for the traffic in the background. I do have some gospel music playing in the other room just to kind of keep a good energy going. I hope it's not too distracting. Love some good music of praise and worship for sure. And again, I'm hoping that you listened to the weekly prayer, reminding you to stop, get some paper, open your textbook, follow along, and take notes. So let's go right into it. I'm starting this section on page 48 that deals with this concept of human dignity. Human dignity. Because God made us in the divine image, endows us with a spiritual nature, your text tells you, shares his very life with us, calls us to himself for a life of eternal happiness, each and every human being from the first moment of conception. Bingo, highlight, underline. Possesses profound dignity. Dignity that is a quality of being worthy of esteem and respect. Having dignity means that we have worth and value from the moment of our conception until natural death. This is human dignity. We don't have to earn it. We can't buy it. We can't lose it. Woo. Some people try to take it away from others, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But another very cool vocab word, actually several vocab words. Human dignity is inherent. It is inherent, meaning, right, it's inborn or inherited. It's something that does not need to be earned or acquired. You can't achieve it. It's inherent to us. Human dignity. Excuse me. Gosh, a little tickle there. It is inviolable. That's another cool word. Inviolable. Do you see it in your text? I'm on page 48. Better look that up. I'm not going to tell you what that means. That would be a good one to add to your vocab. And if I ask you in class or on Wednesday on your quiz, inviolable, better be able to tell me what that is or recognize it. It is inalienable. Woo, another cool vocab word. If you don't know what they mean, you need to add them to your vocab, right? We need to add them to your vocab. So let's remind ourselves that our sin has an effect on our relationship with God. It can have a profound effect on our relationship with God. It affects our relationship with others, with our community. It doesn't destroy our basic dignity. It does not remove God's love, God's grace, God's call upon our life to come back to Him, God's invitation to come back to Him. We all have this human dignity. Human dignity is very different than social dignity. You need to put that in your notes. I'm going to quiz you on that. I'm going to test you on that. The social dignity is what is affected when we're embarrassed, when we've been hurt, when we feel flustered, when something has happened to us that's out of our control, that makes us look or feel foolish. That's a slight to our social dignity. We can lose that. We absolutely can lose that. We are treated sometimes as though we're nothing. We're treated, we're disregarded, or we're attacked for our opinion. You know, our background, who we are, what, and so forth. That's an attack on our social dignity. People might think that they're affecting your human dignity, but they really aren't. Your human dignity, Falcons, and this was part of last week's discussion, is an objective reality. And people will try to destroy it, but they can't. And that's what frustrates them. It's also why they keep trying. They can't. They can't. We have purpose and plan. We are the masterpiece of God's creation. And even when we do bad things, even when we do terrible things, that doesn't go away. It makes it that much more difficult. You know, we like to use insulting terms. We like to refer to humans with non-human kind of insults, right? Call people non-human things. You're an animal. He's an animal. He should be treated like no, he's not an animal. If he were really an animal, you wouldn't be upset with what he's done. No, you're upset with what he's done because he's a human being and he's done that. You're upset with what she's done because she's a human being, and that's how she's treated the gift of her humanity, right? We like to use those non-human terms because it makes it easier for us to be hateful and cruel to other human beings. But there is a distinct difference between, once again, human dignity and social dignity. Human dignity, very simply, your text reminds you that everyone is someone, not a something, not a non-human item, not an object. You know, everyone is someone, and everyone is someone because they're created by God, just like you, just like me. And so to begin a discussion of morality means to respect that every human being is a child of God. Every human being has that inherent dignity. That's a profound game changer in the way we treat other people when we remind ourselves of that. That is a profound game changer. Respect means never manipulating, humiliating, exploiting, insulting, being violent toward others. We can respect others when we refrain from using people to get to an end for ourselves. We can respect others when we refrain from saying nasty, cruel things about them on social media, when we refrain from hitting the like key when someone else has said cruel, nasty things about people. That's how we can respect them. Treating others the way we want to be treated. You know, treating yourself. By the way, big point before I even go on. Oh, Falcons, you deserve respect. You deserve respect because you are created by God in God's own image. Stop allowing yourself to be treated as less, and by allowing yourself, even with decisions perhaps that you're making, you deserve more. You're worth more. Make decisions every day that reflect that. And that goes, now I'm on page 50, that reminds us of our spiritual nature. And again, we have these catechetical references, right? Please put those catechetical references in your notes and in your vocab. Talks about our soul. Our soul, it is Christ, right? God has created us with a body and a spiritual, immortal soul. It is Christ, the image of the invisible God, that man has been created in the image and likeness of the Creator. It is in Christ and through Christ. The human soul restored to its original beauty and ennobled by God's grace through Christ. Christ makes it all possible. Christ makes it all possible. Our souls give us a share in God's life, right? It tugs at our hearts. It causes us to ask ourselves, why are we here? Why do I exist? What does it mean? How do I live? We have a soul. We also have free will. We also have free will, the ability to love, be responsible, to grow, to choose good or evil, right or wrong. We have the ability to think. We are rational. We have intellects, right? We have an intellectual nature that enables us to figure out problems, discover how the universe works, reflect on the meaning of life in an abstract way, right? And we're the only creature on earth that knows, that is aware of its knowledge. We can reflect upon what we've experienced, what we've learned. It enables us, human reason, in the Declaration on Religious Freedom, Human reason enables us to recognize God's voice, urges us to do good, avoid what is evil. Right? Free will means we have the capacity to choose from among alternatives. The power rooted in reason and will, the Catechism says. Hint, hint, that you need to know the catechetical definition of free will. Free will is the power. I'm looking at page 50. You can highlight, underline. Free will is the power rooted in reason and will, the power to perform deliberate actions on one's own responsibility, right? Unlike other animals, a dog, a cat, a monkey, we talked about this, they can't be moral, they can't be evil, they can't be good in a moral way, right? Only we can. And this is part of our authentic freedom. Authentic freedom doesn't mean I can do whatever I want, but I have the ability to choose. I have the ability to choose. I can choose to change, right? I can choose to change. I don't have to be, as I'm looking at the reading, I don't have to be compliant or quote-unquote a victim of the circumstances I find myself in. No, authentic freedom. I can change. I can overcome my circumstances. I can exercise self-control over my own life and make decisions. Free will gives us the ability to love, to choose the good for people. That's how Aquinas defines love. You need to know that. He defines it as willing the good of another. In other words, to choose to do good for others. Free will allows us this. Free will allows us to do that, right? To choose. God doesn't force us. God does not force us to love. There's no value in love that is forced. People often ask, why do bad things happen? Why, they question God. They actually sometimes are unkind in their attitude toward God, and they say things like, well, if there's a God, why do people do such bad things? People do bad things because they have free will. Well, why doesn't God just force everybody to be good? Because then it's not authentic, it's not real. Do you want your best friend to have your back and to love you and to support you and to stand next to you in thick and thin because your parents pay them? That's not worth much, even if they do all those things. They're right there. You can call them anytime, day or night. But then you find out they're only doing it because they're being paid to do it. There's no value in that. There's no value in truly loving God, accepting God, if we're forced to do that. He gives us free will, the ability to choose. He also gives us lots of ways that help us to choose the good. Okay, Falcons, one more on this section up to page 57, and then we're finishing up with chapter 1. Take those notes, re-listen if you need to.